Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if your sun is in Cancer and your moon is in Gemini. These two signs are adjacent to one another, but they are so different in terms of the elements they represent. Cancer is cardinal water, and Gemini is mutable air. And air and water are different because water goes through life feeling things, and air is abstract, it's in the mind, the intellect. So when they combine and the moon sign is in this air position, it's functioning from a mental place, as an expression of one's emotional nature. I have done probably, I'm sure I've done a bunch of these because when where the sun is in water and the moon is in air. And I feel like there would tend to be confusion with this individual of an emotional nature because their sun sign is actually expressing like you would assume a moon sign would. So anytime that you encounter somebody who is a sun and water individual, they will tend to have their emotions front and center in their life. And water is personally emotional. Fire is emotional, but in kind of that objective way, of being like livid about some news story or having a passion in one's life. There's not, even when a person gets, a fire sign person gets angry, it's almost like the idea of something more than, poor me, I'm experiencing this thing. I know I'm a sun and sad, so you can see I'm acting in a prejudiced manner, I guess, by characterizing water signs as doing that. That's not what I mean, like saying, oh, poor me, but really personalizing these experiences. And actually, water signs are very sensitive, unlike fire signs, which tend to be seen as rather insensitive to other people's emotions. But the same can apply to air signs because um, they are masculine signs. Even the earth signs, which are feminine signs, they are really based in logic and the tangibility factor. So emotions are not something that that earth signs indulge in because they don't want to focus on things that are rather what we could call rather chaotic or irrational. And when I say chaotic, I simply mean that they are not easily controlled by some kind of an idea. Now, of course, you can learn how to control your emotions better. But I would say that with this combination of Sun in Cancer and Moon in Gemini, the people may tend to be quite um, blow hot and cold for one, because the Cancer energy is very clingy. I'm talking about the extreme imbalance cases. On the more balanced side, it would be very nurturing, sensitive, and things like that. But even with that, that is coupled with a moon sign that may be like very changeable because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and the word mercurial means changeable, um, but it's also a mutable sign. So there can be a lot of um, changing affections, changing emotions happening. And actually, Cancer is known for changing their mind, their goals, whatever, because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is connected to fluctuation in astrology because of how the moon acts in nature. It's always changing its phases, and so that's why it represents that. And so this combination is extremely changeable. And this can be particularly with your moods. You might be quite moody. Not to say that it's going to be all grumpy or crabby. You know, the Cancer is the crabby. It could be simply that um, you tend to fluctuate emotionally. Maybe some days you're very cheerful, and some days you might be glum and quiet. Maybe other days you're more talkative. And so, in relationships, for instance, you require a partner who can really understand this about you, because they may get very exasperated, to be honest, if you, and it's, but you know, you may have, I don't know if I'd call it difficulty. Maybe it's a reluctance to commit to someone because you don't necessarily feel the same way about that person from day to day. Now, it's important to look at other things. I mean, where are the sun and moon in your chart? That's going to give you more information. What sign is Venus in for relationships? What if Venus is in Gemini? That's going to make you more fickle in love. And when I say fickle, it's like you may be subject to changing partners because the novelty wears off. You just like variety. And, um, you just may have a hard time understanding yourself emotionally. And so you act in ways that are contradictory, and it creates confusion for partners. Sometimes because of a different type of moon sign in this case, and maybe even like a rising sign, you may attract the air signs or the fire signs to you, and then wonder why um, you can't find a compatible partner. Because at the end of the day, your sun sign has to take precedence. And I'm not saying that, somebody who's a sun in Cancer can't be with somebody who is a Sagittarius or a Gemini or something like that. But there's going to have to be some sort of accommodation if that's the case. And if the person is impatient about the other individual, and that can go both ways, you may feel the same way about that person. It's going to be hard to find that common ground. In terms of like a commitment factor, I think that you probably would be very attracted to maybe like an air sign like Libra, because Libra is a cardinal sign. And even though it forms a square, which can be irritating for you, Cancer, there is this quality of Libra that is very, um, you know, gracious. And while it's not the same thing as being sensitive like you are, there's just this cordial factor or influence that a Libra person possesses that you would admire. And the other thing is that Libra is a sign that would harmonize with your moon position. And I feel that this Cancer position, the type of person you may want to relate to somebody emotionally from that air detached position. And so a Libra person might be the perfect type of individual for you. But of course, there are other air signs like Gemini and Aquarius. Also, you might find yourself attracted to the fire signs because as a Cancer, you still have this detached quality. So you may not be the textbook Cancer, and therefore you may need more freedom than the average Cancer. And you also look at the Mars sign. What about if your Mars is in Aries? Then you will be that way as well. You'll be more of an individualist, and you will be more feisty and independent. In terms of professions, I believe that this combination is really aligned with education. I always think of Cancers as teachers, especially for younger children, kind of a surrogate mother or parent, and also kind of like, yeah, because if you think about the younger grades, there's a lot more of that nurturing quality that you give to them rather than when they're teenagers or adults. So the other thing too is that because of the Gemini influence, this is something that is near and dear to your heart, is learning things. So you can have that passion for learning, and you can give it to children and help them to have it, because your emotions get roused up at the whole idea of education. And to me, that is the best sort of teacher, because that kind of person is very inspirational. Also, if you are some kind of a counselor, the moon in Virgo, I feel, is really great for analyzing emotions. All the, you know, I joke about air signs going into therapy and how they love therapy because they can talk about their emotions. And I said, talk, not feel them, but talk about them, think about them, maybe analyze them. But there is such a strong emphasis with Cancer on taking care of people. I mean, yes, you could be working as a nurse, or any, like maybe even in a nursing home. And in those environments, because the moon is in Gemini, it might actually protect you from being too empathic and absorbing all the energy from other people. So you might have an advantage because you would have that kind of buffer, because the emotional nature is analytical. Also, as a healer, same deal, that you may be able to be that healer, and then still, and I'm talking about like a spiritual type of healer, like a Reiki master or something like that, even like a massage therapist if you're hands on, but you're able to kind of take a step back. So, I think, this could be a wonderful combination for a writer. Um, all water signs are great for art of any kind, but for writing, Gemini, I associate with that especially. And with the Cancers are known to have very, like almost like photographic memories, or memory, I mean, but if not, literally that great, at least maybe better than average, where there's like there's very vivid recall. And this is because Cancer rules the past. In the fourth house, it can be your childhood, it can be past events. That's why Cancers tend to be history buffs, because they can read about things that happened long ago and just be really enthralled with that. So, writing, maybe even writing historical fiction, but also anything maybe like autobiographical novel or something along those lines. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.